2023 is in the books, and although 2023 was an excellent year in comic books for me, I made my return to comic books and discovered a lot of amazing comics from last year. I am super stoked for what 2024 has in store. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 most anticipated books of 2024. I'm Alex. I collect comics and graphic novels. I make weekly comic and graphic novel content, so make sure to subscribe. And of course, leave your comments down below. Let's talk about your most anticipated comic books of the year, and let me know what you think about my list. But with all that out of the way, let's jump into this top 10 video. All right, at number 10, we have Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman and Marco Checchetto. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this series other than the preview images that we've been given, and it looks like Peter Parker in this new Ultimate Universe has a family and 2 kids. He's actually married to Mary Jane once again, so we will see how a married Peter Parker can balance not only his wife and superheroing and his job, but also his children. I am super excited for this and love many different variations of the wall crawler, including Miles, and maybe something that's on the list later on in this video. Moving on to number 9, we have Green Lantern by Jeremy Adams and Xermano? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm probably not. But Green Lantern, so far, this run has been amazing. The storytelling has been on point. It's been fun. It's been funny at times. And more importantly, it's just been a really awesome story by Jeremy Adams. Yes, it started in 2023, but it's hopefully going to continue strong into the new year. Green Lantern by Jeremy Adams, and the amazing artwork. Again, I'm sorry, Xermanico. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but the story has been excellent so far. Hal Jordan has a brand new ring, and we don't know the extent of the power of this ring yet. And of course, Sinestro's been there, and spoiler alert from previous issues, but he did acquire a Red Lantern ring, and it's been an amazing story, and I'm super stoked to see where it goes from there. Moving on to number 8, we have The Sacrificers by Rick Remender and art by Max Fiumara. Now, this was a book that I got onto pretty late, as it's on its 6th issue, I believe, as of the recording of this video. Now, I am a huge Rick Remender fan, and I saw the single issues in my local comic shop on the wall every new comic book day, every single Wednesday, but I just didn't pick it up. I finally sat down and read the first issue, digitally albeit, but I did read it, and I'm super stoked. I assume that the trade paperback for the first 5 or 6 issues will be out later this year, and even if they're not, I'm going to scrounge around in the back issues at my local comic shop and try and find the original issues. But The Sacrificers is an awesome take on, well, there's these gods, and there's a ritual sacrifice, and there's all these different kinds of animals in this kingdom that are being sacrificed. Every family has to sacrifice at least one member of their family, and I'm not very far in the book, obviously, but I'm super excited and super intrigued. Rick Remender is always an excellent read, especially in collected edition formats, because his comics just hit the ground running and never stop. So I'm really excited for The Sacrificers. Moving on to number 7, we have Spider-Punk by Cody Ziglar and Justin Mason. Cody Ziglar knows how to write a spider book, and I'm super excited. I love Spider-Punk in the Spider-Verse movie that just came out in 2023. It was an awesome depiction, so I'm really excited to see what Cody Ziglar can do, and the art by Jason Manson looks pretty solid as well. There's going to be a ton of spider books on this video. As I said, I am a huge webhead, but Spider-Punk by Cody Ziglar, I'm super stoked for it. Moving on to number 6, we have Deadpool by Cody Ziglar and Roger Antonio. Now, again, this is back-to-back books by Cody Ziglar. He's a darn good writer, and though I've been off of Deadpool books recently, I am a long-time Deadpool fan. I get that for some people, it might not be your cup of tea. The fourth wall breaking, the campy jokes, sometimes the childish jokes, but I want to see where this goes. Cody Ziglar, as I said, a great writer, and I'm really excited for Deadpool 3 that's coming out later this year in July. So I'm super stoked to get back up and read Deadpool again. Moving on to number 5, at the midway point, we have Wonder Woman by Tom King and Daniel Sampere on art. This book, it has been pretty controversial, let me tell you. However, I think Tom King is touching on a topic that, quite frankly, deserves to be discussed. And I've really enjoyed the first 4 issues. That's all that have come out so far. But I'm really excited to see. We have the lasso of lies behind basically all of America. And of course, there was that soldier that committed suicide. And I know these are heavy, heavy topics for a comic book. I don't think that they're out of place in comic books. Comic books are a great medium to talk about politics and heavy issues like this through the lens of superheroes. And Wonder Woman has been excellent thus far. I would love to hear your opinions about it, but let's keep it civil in the comments section. But Wonder Woman is number 5 on my list. At number 4, we have Batman Superman, World's Finest by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. Holy smokes. I'm not a huge Superman fan, but I learned in 2023 that if you pair Superman with Batman and you have an excellent writer like Mark Waid on it and Dan Mora with the beautiful art, it makes for an excellent, excellent comic book. It's been great so far. I'm only about 4 issues in, but I'm super stoked for this to continue being one of the best comic books going in comic books. If you like old school comic books, action-packed, nonstop, every single page is an absolute masterpiece from an art perspective. You have to check out Batman Superman, World's Finest, and I'm super excited to see where this creative team takes it into the new year. At number 3, we have Transformers by Daniel Warren Johnson and colors by Mike Spicer. This was my number 1 pick for best comic books of 2023. You can check that video out right up there. I kind of killed the lead on that. If you're going to check that video out, there's a ton of other books on it. But Transformers, just like I said, Batman Superman World's Finest is a comic book reader's comic book. This is, by definition, a comic book reader's comic book. There's no deconstruction of a hero. None of that nonsense. This is what you want in a comic book. I'm not even a Transformers fan, and I absolutely have loved this comic book. Daniel Warren Johnson is quickly becoming my favorite comic book creator. He did Do a Powerbomb, which I have right there, and I'm going to be doing a video essay on very, very soon, so be on the lookout for that. But Transformers, it has eclipsed some modern sales records, and I think this could be a turning point for the comic book industry as a whole. But Transformers by Daniel Warren Johnson coming in at number 3 this year. Next up at number 2, the runner-up for the best and most anticipated comic book of 2024, we have Radiant Black by Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa. I absolutely love Radiant Black so far. Now, they are going to go on a short hiatus after issues 30 and 30.5. However, the conclusion of the Catalyst War is going to be a paradigm-shifting, absolute gem, I believe, because after the last issue of 28 and 28.5, holy smokes, it was excellent. And if you are tired of comic books, and specifically superhero comic books, that refuse to change the paradigm and refuse to change the status quo, you have to check out Radiant Black. I absolutely adore this book. It is a story about these 2 millennial friends who find this little tiny black hole, and one of them touches it, and boom, instantly they transform into the superhero Radiant Black. It is an absolute breath of fresh air to be seeing a comic book, a superhero comic book that isn't afraid to shift the status quo. And there's an entire universe around this character, and they've expanded the Massiveverse, which is what they call it. And there are a ton of other characters like Rogue Sun, Radiant Pink, No One, and a ton of other characters in this Massiveverse. So if you end up checking this out and you dig Radiant Black, Make sure to check out some of the other titles because I've really enjoyed some of the other ones as well. But Radiant Black is my number 2 most anticipated book of 2024. And before we get to the number 1 top spot, I have to talk about some honorable mentions. First up, we have Resurrection of Magneto by Al Ewing and Luciano Vecchio. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad, but I have been off of X books for quite some time. I checked out Houses and Powers of X, and it was excellent. Jonathan Hickman is a genius. However, I felt that what came after wasn't as strong and could not carry the Krakoan era as strongly as Hickman had set up. So I've been off X-Men books for quite some time, but I am really excited to see what Al Ewing can do. Magneto is one of my favorite characters in comic books, and for that reason, I have to check this out. I don't know much about the plot because, again, I haven't really seen much of the X-Men stuff recently, but I'm super stoked for Resurrection of Magneto. Another one that I'm really excited about that didn't quite make the list is Action Comics by Jason Aaron and John Timms. Now, I am not, as I said earlier in the video, a big Superman guy, but Jason Aaron is a great writer, and I'm willing to give him a shot on this. Action Comics by Joshua Williamson recently has been excellent, and as I said, Jason Aaron, super good writer. I'm really looking forward to checking out at least the first issue of the run to see if I like it. Another one is going to be Spider-Boy by Dan Slott and Paco Medina. I've really loved this story. Now, it is kind of set for a younger audience, but I'm a giant man-child, and I've loved Spider-Boy. Say what you want about Dan Slott, but he knows how to write spider characters, and this is no different. The quips that you hear from Bailey are amazing. We've gotten a ton of new characters, so that's really cool if you're into speculating and getting new issues just to have them as key issues, but Spider-Boy's been really fun thus far. And then, of course, I can't not mention Duke by Joshua Williamson, art by Tom Riley. It's been awesome. We only have one issue so far, but it was a great comic book. Much like Transformers, it is a comic book reader's comic book, and I hope that that continues into the rest of the run. And then last, but certainly not least, in terms of honorable mentions, we have Superior Spider-Man by Dan Slott and Mark Bagley on pencils. Now, Superior Spider-Man, the original, was excellent. Of course, it tied in to the Spider-Verse, and that was really sick. I've really enjoyed the first couple issues of the new one by Slott. Again, dude knows how to write spider characters. But that's all of my honorable mentions. Let's talk about the number 1 most anticipated book of 2024 for me is none other than Space Mullet by Daniel Warren Johnson. Now, this was his very first creator-owned comic series. However, it wasn't ever really published initially in paper comic books. It was actually a web series that he designed, and really, this kind of put him on the map and gave him opportunities to go off and become Daniel Warren Johnson that we all know and love at this point. But it is finally getting re-released after, I believe, 7 years. 7 years. It hasn't been re-released. Originally, though, it was released by Dark Horse. This time, Image and Skybound are releasing it. I am super stoked to read it. I haven't read it. I'm not going to read it. I know I'm going to love it. And Space Mullet is basically a story about a guy who has a mullet in space. It's a sci-fi adventure. I'm super excited to get to read it. Space Mullet, I'm super stoked. Daniel Warren Johnson, he's a master at his craft. He knows how to write a comic book better than anyone right now in the industry. Space Mullet is my number 1 pick for most anticipated comics of 2024, and I know it is actually an older book. That doesn't mean I can't choose it. After all, it's my list. But yeah, there you go. There are my top 10 most anticipated comics of 2024. I've really had a lot of fun with this channel so far, and thank you everybody for getting me to 100 subscribers in less than a month, y'all. It's crazy. Y'all are awesome, and I appreciate it. Thank you all so much. If you enjoyed this video, like I said, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because otherwise they will not tell you. They will not tell you. YouTube will not tell you about my videos. You have to hit the notification bell, and of course, chop it up with me. Let's talk comic books in the comment section. I would love to hear your most anticipated books for the new year. But yeah, everybody, I appreciate you. Keep collecting comics, keep reading, and I will catch you all on the flippy flop. Adios.